they left. But for days, weeks, even months, there was silence. You waited, you healed, you held yourself together, and now suddenly, they're back. A message, a missed call, a, "Hey, how have you been?" And in that split second, your heart doesn't know what to do. Part of you wants to scream, another part wants to reply, and a deeper, quieter part of you, the wise part, wants to pause and ask, why now? What's changed? Do they deserve access to my peace again? Because here's what nobody tells you. When someone reaches out after silence, it's not always a sign of love. Sometimes it's confusion. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's guilt looking for relief, not reconciliation. And if you're not grounded, if you haven't asked yourself the right questions, you'll fall right back into the same emotional trap that broke you in the first place. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We love ourselves more than we love others, but we care more about their opinion than our own." That has to change right now. This video isn't about bitterness. It's not about revenge. It's about clarity, power, peace. When someone reaches out after no contact, you need to slow down, breathe. Don't lead with emotion, lead with truth. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every hand reaching out deserves to be held again. So today, I'm going to give you 7 questions to ask, internally and sometimes directly, when they come back. Each question is designed to protect your peace, sharpen your self-respect, and reveal what's real from what's just familiar. Because closure doesn't come from what they say, it comes from what you ask. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now before we begin. I will not trade my peace for temporary connection. Ready? Let's dive into the 7 questions that can save you from repeating the same painful cycle again. Number 1. What do you actually want from me? When they come back, the first thing you need to clarify, to them or to yourself, is this simple question: what do they actually want? Not what you hope they want, not what your emotions wish they're here for, but the truth. Most people reach out, not because they've changed, but because they feel something missing. Maybe they're lonely, maybe they're bored, maybe someone else rejected them. Maybe you gave them peace, and now that peace is gone. But here's the Stoic truth. Just because someone misses your presence doesn't mean they deserve your future. When you ask, what do you actually want from me? You're not being cold. You're being clear. You're showing that your peace is no longer available on demand. You're not just a memory they can revisit when life gets uncomfortable. You're a human being with value, and if they can't articulate what they want with honesty and intention, you already have your answer. You're not here to entertain curiosity. You're not here to make them feel better about abandoning you. You're not a temporary fix for their emotional gaps. And if they can't give you clarity, then your silence is the most powerful response. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Be someone who values peace over patterns. Be someone who listens to energy, not just empty words. Because when they come back with a vague message and no real purpose, they're not returning for love. They're returning for comfort. And you didn't do all this inner work to comfort someone who once left you confused. Drop this affirmation in the comments if you feel this truth. I value clarity over comfort. I will not entertain confusion. Number 2. Have you taken accountability for what happened? When they reach out, nostalgia will try to cover up reality. You'll remember the laughs, the warmth, the late-night talks. But memory can be deceptive when your heart is still healing. That's why you must ask, have they taken true accountability for what went wrong? Not, I miss you, Not things were complicated, not let's forget the past, but real, honest ownership. If they ghosted you, have they admitted that? If they lied, have they taken responsibility without excuses? Because without accountability, there is no foundation. You can't build trust on a floor full of cracks. And if they haven't faced their own behavior, they're not ready to reconnect. They're just revisiting the past without changing their part in it. In Stoic philosophy, ownership of one's actions is the mark of character. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom is earned through reflection and responsibility. If they avoid the past, they're avoiding the truth. And someone who avoids truth cannot build something real. So, ask yourself, are they genuinely owning their role in the silence, or are they just hoping you forgot how they made you feel? Words without accountability are manipulation in disguise. You are not obligated to re-experience pain just because someone refuses to learn from it. If their message doesn't come with humility, if their presence doesn't come with growth, then let them go again, this time without regret. Your healing journey deserves better than recycled behavior from someone who still doesn't understand what they broke. Drop this affirmation in the comments if you feel this truth. I require accountability. Love without growth is not enough. Number 3. Why now? When someone reaches out after a long silence, this is the question that sits in the back of your mind, and it needs to be brought forward. Why now? Why today? Why after all this time of not caring, not checking in, not showing up? Why are they reaching out now? You must understand that timing is not random. People reach out not because they suddenly remembered you in a dream. Often it's because their circumstances changed, not their heart. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe someone else rejected them. Maybe they just realized you stopped chasing. In other words, you moved on energetically, and now their ego feels the gap. That's not love. That's absence triggering their curiosity. There's a massive difference between reaching out because they miss your soul and reaching out because they miss your attention. In psychology, this is called the Zeigarnik effect. People remember unclosed emotional loops more than closed ones. Your silence created an unfinished story in their mind, and now their brain is seeking resolution, not necessarily reconciliation. This is why now is such a powerful filter. It forces them to reflect. It forces them to speak their intention. And if they can't give you a real answer, they're not here for the right reason. A late apology isn't always a changed heart. It can be a guilty one. And guilt should never be the doorway back into your life. Remember this Stoic truth from Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If their thoughts haven't changed, neither has their behavior. If their intentions are still self-serving, they will only paint your peace with the same chaos that once shattered it. Don't fall for timing disguised as fate. Most people don't return because they value you. They return because they feel your absence. And if you're not careful, their sudden reappearance will undo all the emotional strength you've fought to build. So ask, why now? And more importantly, listen to how they answer. Do they speak from reflection, or do they just want to pick up where things left off like nothing ever happened? You're no longer that same version of you that once waited by the phone. You're wiser now, quieter, stronger. They may have reached out, but it doesn't mean they get access. You hold the door. You decide if their energy aligns with your peace. And if it doesn't, silence is still the most honest answer you can give. Drop this affirmation in the comments if this speaks to you. I don't accept people back. I accept truth and timing that respects my growth. Number 4. Are you willing to rebuild what you broke? It's easy to say, "I miss you." It takes 5 seconds to type, "I've been thinking about you." But here's the real question. Are they willing to rebuild what they broke? Not patch it up. Not pretend it never happened. Not slide back into your life as if their silence wasn't loud, but actually rebuild it. With patience, with presence, with proof. Because connection without commitment is manipulation, and comfort without change is just another round of pain wearing a different outfit. When someone reaches out after no contact, the words come easy, but change never does. So you need to ask, are they willing to show up, to take responsibility not just once, but consistently? To earn back trust, not demand it instantly. And are you seeing effort, or are you just hearing old promises? Too many people let someone back into their life based on emotion, not evidence. But Stoic philosophy teaches us otherwise. Epictetus wrote, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Real change doesn't beg for your time. It proves itself worthy of it, and someone who truly understands the damage they caused will want to fix it, not just get forgiven for it. So ask them directly or silently observe. Are they consistent now or just curious? Are they showing up in a different way? Or is this the same cycle with a different disguise? Because if you let someone back into your life without new energy, without a changed mindset, you're not giving a second chance. You're giving them permission to hurt you again. And the truth is, rebuilding requires effort from both sides, but especially from the one who walked away, broke the trust, or left you feeling like you were never enough. If they can't acknowledge that, they're not ready. And if you say yes too soon, you'll betray the version of you that spent weeks, maybe months, choosing peace over pain. You owe that version of you more than quick forgiveness. You owe them proof, patience, evidence, not just emotions. Drop this in the comments if you're done falling for empty returns. If they can't rebuild it, they don't belong in it. Number 5. Does their presence bring you peace or confusion? This is one of the most powerful internal questions you'll ever ask. Not just when someone reaches out, but in every relationship in your life. You don't need to guess someone's intentions when you can feel their energy. And energy doesn't lie. When you saw their name pop up on your screen, what did your body do? Did your stomach sink, or did your chest feel lighter? Did your mind spiral, or did your spirit calm down? That reaction, that very first raw emotional response, is your answer. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Confusion isn't a sign you're still healing. It's a sign that your nervous system still doesn't feel safe. And love without emotional safety is not love. It's survival. So stop asking, do they still care? Ask instead, do I feel peace when they enter my space again? Because peace is the greatest indicator of alignment. You should not need to guess, chase, or decode. You should not have to perform, impress, or overextend just to hold their attention. In Stoic terms, peace is your highest currency. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And your thoughts are shaped by the people you allow near your heart." If their presence brings more doubt than clarity, more anxiety than calm, then it doesn't matter how long you've known them, how much history you share, or how many promises they're making now. Your peace is too expensive to trade for temporary validation. Sometimes the most powerful move isn't silence or response, it's observation. How do you feel after interacting with them? How do you sleep that night? Do you feel grounded, or do you feel like you're slowly disappearing again? When someone truly values you, they don't disrupt your healing. They join it. They don't trigger old pain. They protect the new peace you built without them. Drop this in the comments if you felt this shift in energy. If it costs my peace, it's too expensive to keep. Number 6. Do you want them back, or do you just miss the feeling? This question stings, but it's the one that saves you from emotional relapse. Because here's the truth. Most people don't miss the person, they miss the feeling of being wanted, the comfort of familiarity, the emotional high of connection. But missing a moment is not the same as wanting someone back in your life. So when they reach out, pause and ask, do I want them? With all their patterns, inconsistencies, and past behaviors? Or do I just miss the idea of being seen, heard, held? This is how people get stuck. They confuse loneliness with longing and comfort with compatibility. In Stoic practice, we are taught to separate our emotions from our values. You can feel pain, desire, and longing without letting those feelings control your decisions. As Epictetus once wrote, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. The urge to reply, to reconnect, to go back, it's natural. But that urge is not always aligned with your truth. You have to ask yourself, if this person were a stranger, showing up in your life today with the same habits and mindset as before, would you still say yes? Or are you only tempted because you already have emotional history with them? That's how the mind plays tricks. It romanticizes the past and calls it love, even when it wasn't healthy. Missing them doesn't mean they're right for you. It just means you're human. You had real moments, and now your brain wants that emotional pattern back. Not because it's good, but because it's familiar. But healing is about choosing peace over patterns, choosing truth over temporary comfort. So before you reply, look inward and answer honestly, is this about them? Or is this about you wanting to feel something again? And if it's just a feeling, remind yourself, you can rebuild that feeling in yourself. You've already started. You don't need to borrow it from someone who once abandoned you. Drop this truth in the comments if it resonates. I miss peace more than I miss people. Number 7. Would the old you accept this version of them? This question hits where it matters, not in your feelings, but in your identity. Because before no contact, before the silence, before the heartbreak, you were a different version of yourself. Maybe you tolerated too much. Maybe you didn't know how to set boundaries. Maybe you gave love before you gave yourself respect. But you've changed now. You've grown. You've cried and healed and fought through nights they never saw. So, when they come back, you must ask yourself, would the version of me who finally walked away accept this version of them now? The version of them who disappeared, who stayed silent while you suffered, who only returned when they felt your absence louder than your presence. Does that align with the new standards you've built? Most people don't realize this, but no contact isn't about punishing someone else. It's about evolving yourself. And once you evolve, your heart learns how to protect its peace instead of offering it to anyone who shows up. And if you accept someone who still hasn't evolved themselves, you're not giving love, you're betraying the strength you fought to create. Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you've been thinking with clarity, peace, and purpose, then why stain your spirit with someone who hasn't even apologized to your soul? The person reaching out, is it a version of them that matches your growth, or is it the same pattern wrapped in a more desperate message? You didn't survive the silence, the triggers, the healing, just to fall into the same dynamic again. You're not who you were, and you should not pretend to be just because they suddenly remembered your name. The biggest gift of your transformation is discernment. Use it. Not every message is meant to be answered. Not every door needs to be reopened. And not every heart deserves a second chance just because it realized what it lost. Drop this final affirmation in the comments if this truth hit home. I will not shrink back into who I was just to be loved by someone I've outgrown. If you've made it this far, I need you to pause for a second and really feel this. You didn't survive that silence by accident. You didn't rebuild yourself out of weakness. You did it out of strength, out of pain that turned into power, out of loneliness that turned into self-respect. And now that they've reached out, you hold something far greater than a message. You hold a choice. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you, who you've become, what you've learned, how much you value your own energy. And what you allow into your world now isn't based on guilt, fear, or nostalgia. It's based on alignment. Because peace is the real prize. And if someone's presence shakes that peace, they don't belong in your future, no matter how loud their return is. Let the questions in this video guide you, not your old wounds. Ask them slowly. Ask them truthfully. And if the answers don't feel right, walk away with your head high. Closure isn't a conversation. It's the conviction that you're no longer who you used to be. And if nobody told you lately, let me say this. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to evolve past people who stayed the same. And you are allowed to wait for something real, even if it means staying alone for a little while longer. I want you to take a deep breath right now and drop this final affirmation in the comments. My peace is my priority. I will never trade it for confusion again. If this video spoke to your soul, if it gave you clarity or strength, subscribe right now, not just for more content like this, but because you're building a community with people who think, feel, and heal like you. Like-minded warriors, stoic minds, high-value souls. Like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs these words today. This isn't just advice, it's armor. Until next time, stay grounded, stay powerful, and never forget what your silence taught you.